In today's episode, we're going to be covering what's next for Bitewing Games in 2022 and beyond. That includes some sneak peeks at our upcoming publications and plans. We've got some exciting board game news to talk about today. My name is Nick Murray, and you are listening to the Bitewing Games podcast. Wow, it's wild to think about how far Bitewing Games has come in the past couple years. In January 2020, we started out as two dentists with a passion for tabletop gaming and a drive to create and share board games with a bite. But what started out as a blog, hobby, and some creative dabbling has now become a full-blown publishing company, website, podcast, and YouTube channel. What started as the desire to share a couple homemade designs with the world has evolved into a collaboration with some of the world's best designers, artists, and creators in the board game industry for more than a dozen planned projects. How did we get here, and where are we even going? As most of you know, our first major project became Reiner Knizia's Criminal Capers collection, 3 simple card games with clever mechanisms that share a vibrant theme. We wanted to start with these smaller productions because they were lower risk and lower complexity. It was a way for us to test the waters of publishing and crowdfunding, as well as establish a fan base for Bitewing Games. We're very proud of the end result and think this collection turned out gorgeous, engaging, interactive, and approachable. Even after many plays, the Criminal Capers collection remains a go-to filler and an enjoyable casual gaming experience at our table. For those who don't know, we just barely opened up our web store at bitewinggames.com, where you can finally acquire the standard and deluxe editions of the Criminal Capers collection. So if you missed the Kickstarter and you missed the pre-order window, you can finally order these and have them shipped directly to you within a couple weeks. You can find the link to our web store in the description of this podcast. Of course, where we put out 3 of these 20-minute games that heavily target the casual gaming audience, many folks have understandably assumed that this is the type of publisher Bitewing Games would become. Something similar to Amigo, who mainly publishes ultra-light card games that feature clever twists. And while we love these types of games and often get them to the table, we found ourselves hungry to take on even more ambitious projects. For both Kyle and I, the games that we most often get to the table are typically big box games that play in roughly an hour or less, are easy to teach to anyone, but present even more decisions and depth than most card games. This is one of our favorite ways to game, so naturally, we are drawn to publishing such titles as well. I suppose if we really wanted to be a well-oiled and maximally profitable company, we would have a more focused brand or consistent product. I've been impressed by publishers such as Facade Games with their Dark Cities line, who have amassed a huge audience thanks to their consistent and disciplined social deduction games that come in gorgeous faux book boxes. You know exactly what you're getting from them. But where Kyle and I already have full jobs as dentists, I suppose we're more interested in chasing projects that really excite us personally, first and foremost. And variety keeps the publishing work fresh. The same is true for playing board games. If I get stuck playing efficiency Euros from one game night to the next, I start to become rather grumpy with the genre. I'm much more in the mood to play a game like Concordia or Agricola if I get to enjoy other genres in between those plays. What I'm getting at is that our ambitious publishing plans are kind of all over the place. We started with 3 light 20-minute card games of bluffing, bribing, auctions, and push your luck. Next, we took on Trailblazers. And while that is likewise a fast and approachable card game at its core, it's also a spatial puzzler that features 2 expansions, 3 solo modes, and a staggeringly high skill ceiling. Trailblazers is a Ryan Courtney game after all, and Thinky is his design style. Speaking of Trailblazers, we've also opened up the pre-order store or late pledges for Trailblazers if you missed the Kickstarter campaign for that. I will also add the link to Trailblazers in the description of this podcast if you're wanting to pre-order it and get it the same time as our backers. So while we felt Trailblazers had massive potential, we couldn't be sure of its success until the Kickstarter campaign arrived. Yet that uncertainty didn't stop us from committing to additional thrilling projects such as Zoo Vadis for further down the road. And now that Trailblazers has performed even better than we were hoping, future plans and aspirations are really starting to come together. Today, I'm excited to formally reveal our publication plans for the future and shed some more light on these projects. Bitewing Games is in the process of launching several lines of games. And the first line of games that we have, obviously, is Reiner Knizia's Criminal Capers collection. It is here and complete. Like I said, these 3 20-minute card games within the shared Criminal Capers universe are now available on our web store. We have limited copies of the Standard and Deluxe Edition games available to order. The Standard Editions will also be available through retailers starting in November. We consider this collection complete and have no plans to add more games to it later. We hope gamers and non-gamers alike will enjoy these casual small box experiences. They make for a great appetizer to our meatier projects. Next up, I'm excited to reveal the Deep Clean series. These games feature deep, engaging gameplay and clean, simple rules. It's an honor to be kicking off the Deep Clean series with Ryan Courtney's Trailblazers. Where Ryan Courtney fans are accustomed to heavy games from his previous work like Pipeline and Curious Cargo, Trailblazers focuses on retaining deep and engaging gameplay, but with clean and simple rules. The 2 included expansions of Trailblazers, Animals, and Adventurers add even more depth for gamers to enjoy. We look forward to releasing even more Trailblazers expansions that Ryan is currently working on. Hopefully we'll have more to show about those expansions in 2023. And Trailblazers is only the beginning of the Deep Clean series. Bitewing Games is thrilled to announce our formal partnership with designer Ryan Courtney in publishing yearly releases within the Deep Clean series. Our follow-up project to Trailblazers is already in the works, with the game design complete and the artwork now in early stages. And while this game obviously holds true to the Deep Clean focus, it is otherwise a very different style of game from Trailblazers. For now, this one is called Project Deep, a tense logic game from Ryan Courtney featuring interactive competition and non-fragile deduction. Like Trailblazers, the rules are approachable and the playtime is quick, yet the skill ceiling is high and the gameplay variety is huge. Ryan Courtney won't be the only talented designer contributing to the Deep Clean series. We're also collaborating with Reiner Knizia on a big box game. We're honored to be publishing the next big tile placement strategy game from Reiner Knizia, which we're currently calling Project Cascade. This one follows in the footsteps of Babylonia, Tigris and Euphrates, Blue Lagoon, and so on. These are some of my favorite games of all time, so I am truly jazzed about this project as well. Now, in terms of strategic depth, zero luck, layered nuances, and tactical interaction, this is actually Reiner's heaviest game in years. Trust me, I've played all of his recent games, and this is by far his heaviest one. Yet, it plays smooth as butter. We cannot wait to unveil this one as well. So 2023 will be a huge year for the Deep Clean series, with Trailblazers releasing and both Project Deep and Project Cascade launching via crowdfunding all next year. There's a lot to look forward to there. Moving on to the next line of games I'm thrilled to introduce. With the upcoming launch of Zoo Vadis in January comes the birth of this line of games called the Crown Jewel Selection. Classic gems, now polished and perfected. So as a hobbyist gamer, it's always thrilling to discover new hits. Promising projects and refreshing ideas are endlessly flooding the market. Yet, I found just as much joy in uncovering classic games from past decades, including revered legends, hidden gems, and overlooked firecrackers. Many excellent designs have simply fallen victim to poor production decisions, limited marketing, or insatiable cult of the new appetites. That's why Bitewing Games has taken it upon ourselves to do justice to some of these classic gems, beginning with Zoo Vadis. I firmly believe that Reiner Knizia's Quo Vadis, now called Zoo Vadis, is one of the greatest negotiation games ever designed. Adopting and evolving this design into the Crown Jewel Selection is our way of helping it reach its full potential. We look forward to the crowdfunding launch of Zoo Vadis in January and hope you do as well. In the meantime, be sure to follow our Zoo Vadis weekly reveals on BoardGameGeek.com, which recently began with the unveiling of the new game board and peacock figures. So head over to BoardGameGeek.com and look up Zoo Vadis, and then go into the forums and you'll see the weekly reveals there. But I'll also include a link to these in the description of this podcast. And with the amount of attention that Zoo Vadis has already received since it was first announced, I'm confident that Bitewing Games will soon have more thrilling projects to launch in the Crown Jewel Selection for 2024 and beyond. The next line of games I'm going to talk about is how we're coming full circle with what's called the Bitewing Games Originals. As I mentioned at the beginning of this episode, Bitewing Games started with 2 dentists eager to share a couple of their own game designs. While we ended up taking a fantastic detour through Reiner Knizia and Courtney projects, we're finally getting back around to our own first publication in Gussie Gorillas. Those who have been following us for a long time will recall that this game was originally meant to launch alongside the Criminal Capers collection, and the title of the game at that time was Social Grooming. And the design itself didn't encounter any setbacks. Rather, we realized that the smart marketing decision was to launch it alongside Zoo Vadis instead, as they are both negotiation games. Gussie Gorillas will come in the same magnetic square box as our Criminal Capers games. It is very similar in style in that it is a simple, clever, 20-minute card game, where we already have strong working relationships with Reiner Knizia and Courtney, who continually provide us with an endless stream of designs to consider. Any of our own designs that we publish come with a significant opportunity cost. And I'm pleasantly surprised to see that Gussie Gorillas and a future party game of ours remain a publishing priority thanks to the uniquely charming experience that they provide. You can look forward to seeing more of Gussie Gorillas in the January crowdfunding campaign. And finally, I have one more line of games to tease out. 2024 is going to bring a 2-player line starting with Project Dio. If the Criminal Capers Collection, Deep Clean Series, Crown Jewel Selection, and Bitewing Games Originals aren't enough for you, then you can start counting down the days to our 2-player line launching in 2024. The genesis of this line actually came from a Reiner Knizia interview from several years ago. Reiner mentioned that he is sitting on some excellent 2-player designs that publishers apparently don't want because they believe 2-player games don't sell well. And perhaps that's true as a general principle, because exclusively 2-player games are inherently targeting a smaller audience. But this is the designer of Lost Cities, Battle Line, Royal Visit, Lord of the Rings The Confrontation, and so on that we're talking about. If anyone can provide an exceptional 2-player game with huge selling potential, it's Reiner Knizia. As a massive fan of Knizia games myself, I consider it an injustice for his excellent 2-player designs to go unpublished, or for Reiner to shy away from designing more 2-player masterpieces in general. So Bitewing Games is now working to launch a 2-player line that will make a big splash in the industry and keep the door open for Knizia and other designers to create more focused 2-player experiences in this line. This 2-player line will kick off with a crowdfunding launch in early 2024, featuring 2 Knizia 2-player games called Project Dio. To give folks a sense of these games, I would say they're both strategically heavier than Lost Cities, yet comparable in box size and rules complexity. It's an agonizingly long wait, even for those of us who are already enjoying the designs, but I'm confident that the wait will be worth it. Of course, the only reason we are able to maintain such an aggressive publishing schedule is thanks to the support we've already received for the Criminal Capers Collection and Trailblazers from our Kickstarter backers. And while we plan to release multiple titles per year, we also plan to continue supporting earlier titles and giving them the long-term love they deserve. As for our online content, we're still planning to keep that up. Kyle has been doing more reviews, previews, and how to play videos, while I'll be keeping the blog and podcast going on a regular basis. Our goals for this content remain the same: grow the hobby, share and spotlight great games, encourage industry improvement, and keep our publishing minds sharp. A huge thanks goes to everyone who has supported and believed in Bitewing Games. We're excited about the future and hope you are too. In the meantime, if you want to support us, again, you can follow the links in the description of this podcast to order and quickly be playing the Criminal Capers Collection, or to pre-order Trailblazers, or both. Your support is what keeps this podcast going, and it also allows us to keep providing you with some excellent new games. My name is Nick Murray, and you've been listening to the Bitewing Games podcast.